Sakari, last week obviously the offensive line looked a lot better. We heard a lot about changes, things like that. How different did it feel for you, and just kind of how much of it was some of the changes, and how much of it was kind of the pride of the O-line saying we got to be better?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of new energy. I think that really brought us up, and then Vallejos changed a few things, try to optimize it a little bit more for us, you know. But I'd say the biggest thing was the new energy in the room, you know what I mean?
When Coach Vallejos got the interim tag, what was his message to your group in some of those first meetings you had with him?
He wanted us to just have fun playing football. He felt like we weren't at like where we were before. So he said he didn't really want to change a whole lot of things. He wanted to just bring us up more than try to change things.
What's the kind of the mood of the team as you come into this week? Obviously, you know, a disappointing loss last week, but the offense moves the ball and you get some points on the board. I mean, is there some confidence that was built off of last week?
Yeah, definitely some optimism coming into this week, and hopefully we can keep it rolling a little bit, maybe start a little bit faster. We still started a little slow, but yeah, just try to keep it rolling.
Carl, what do you see from Oregon State? What does their defense show you?
They play a lot of the 3-4 a lot, so we're trying to just prepare for that. They have pretty good linebackers. I don't remember their names exactly, but yeah, a lot of talented linebackers as well.
Is it a defense you've seen this year or similar?
Yeah, pretty similar. I mean, we've faced multiple fronts this year, so I think we're, you know, pretty experienced in all fronts so far.
I know Sam Neuer's not been playing a whole lot up there, but he'll be coming back this week, and you know, he was your quarterback here for a long time. So are you looking forward to kind of seeing Sam and you know, kind of reliving some of the memories from last year?
Yeah, it'll definitely be good to see Sam. I mean, I don't think he left here on bad terms with anybody, so we still all love Sam wherever he plays at, you know.
Coach Hagan had mentioned that you guys had kind of reverted to some old techniques on the offensive line. Is that stuff you were doing under Coach Cap, or when were you guys doing some of the stuff you re-implemented last week?
Yeah, some of the philosophies were probably a little closer to Coach Cap. I think Vallejos' philosophy is a little closer to Coach Cap, so that was like more some of the stuff that Vallejos changed a little bit, because we were also familiar with it.
Are you guys more comfortable with that?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we're pretty comfortable with most schemes at this point, considering we've rotated quite a bit. But yeah, I think it's something that might fit us a little bit better than some of the older stuff, I guess.
How do you feel like the leadership's developing on this team throughout the season? You're one of the old guys, and especially like Nate obviously going down and not being on the field. I know you're not on defense, but how do you feel like some of the leadership's developing?
I think it's good. I mean, like the new energy, at least I can only really speak for the O-line because that's the room I'm in most of the time. But at least in our room, I mean, we're all so close, like we have understandings with each other. So leadership in our room is more than just like one person. It's more just belief in everyone around us. So we have open communication with all of us.
Carl, what was the feeling, the attitude like in the huddles, you know, as you're getting a score and as the game is going better? What was it like in the huddles compared to previous games?
We're definitely amped up because we were moving the ball pretty well, and like, you know, we actually ended up scoring quite a few. So just, I mean, real high energy, just ready to go out no matter what happened on either side of the ball.
For you on a personal level, you know, your career's winding down now. You only got this last month to go. Have you thought about that at all yet? And have you thought about kind of the journey you've had and how you kind of developed into one of the more consistent linemen here?
Yeah, I've thought about it, and like, you know, just thinking back, like all the coaches I've had and everything like that. It's just like, I mean, it's definitely been great here. It's just like weird to think back that it went so quick, you know. So I've thought about it a little bit, but I've tried to avoid thinking about it too much, you know.
I think it would be easy for a lot of guys to get down after kind of some of the struggles that Brendan Lewis had earlier this year. He had a good game on Saturday. What have you seen from him in that huddle, and what's kind of his leadership style? Is it kind of a quieter style that he has?
Yeah, Bilu's energy really rose up because, I mean, it's hard for a quarterback to do well when we're not doing well, so it's also on us for, you know, his struggles as well. So when we were playing well, he plays better. He's up, we're up. It's just a whole new energy in the huddle, and just people encouraging each other. So he was just a lot more vocal, a lot more into it. It seemed, you know.
Anything else for Kari? Hang on one more second. Troy, are you on the Zoom? Is there anything from the Zoom for Kari? Anyone on the Zoom? All right, we're good. Thanks, Kari.
No problem.
Be back in a couple minutes with Coach.
Yeah.
What's that? Just the quietest weekly presser in our time covering this team. There's, I mean, 5 or 6 on the league. I bet Denver's not here because of Von Miller. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
We can take credit, right? Curtis.
Well,
Like second round of the
Christensen. I think you're good.
Not that I don't like to see you.
Curtis, do you remember when Vaughn was here with Anna? You were here then?
I remember when we went there, he broke Rodney Stewart's leg.
That was there? I thought that was here.
Was there.
Whitey was kind of bitter about that.
He made that his Twitter profile picture too, which was kind of messed up.
He did?
Yeah. It was his profile for a while. CU fans did not like it.
Was it a dirty play?
That's his rule.
Kind of.
The horse?
Say that again?
Von Miller was traded.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's kind of big news. It is. Let's see. So recapping the game, it's unfortunate that we didn't play as well as we normally have played on the defensive side. There was a number of errors that were uncharacteristic from what their body of work has been over the course of the season. There is a sense of urgency, though, because for the last 2 games, this has been challenging for them. So we want to make sure that we shore those things up. We had really good meetings today, both offensively and defensively. But there's a lot of pride on the defensive side. There's a lot of experience on that side, and those guys are not very happy with what it looked like, last week. So it's important for them to get those things addressed and shored up, particularly going into a good week this week with Oregon State coming in town, which is a really good football team. But there's definitely some attention to how things have been done the last couple of weeks, and they're eager to get those things fixed. I would say offensively, it was probably our most solid performance we've had, even though it was a slow start to the game. We didn't get much done early. We got ourselves in a big deficit, but our players kind of still stayed locked in about creating some offense and creating some plays and getting some continuity. And I was really encouraged with how they kind of battled through the game. It was probably collectively our best offensive line's performance, in terms of their body of work from run production and in protection. I thought the running backs, they all 3 were pretty resourceful for us, both in the run game and also in the passing game and in protections. I thought receivers are getting better and better. Brandon Rice had another back-to-back game where he's had 100 yards. And then Brendan Lewis, I thought, played well. He played well. He's took a big step forward. So, it's November now. November is that month you want to start playing your best football. That's in any circumstance, whether your record is. But I think it's a critical month that we end up, this season finishing playing our best football, in all 3 phases. Our special teams has been, I would say, they've really played well consistently through the season. Almost had a kickoff returned for a touchdown. Those guys, our coverage teams are doing well. The score team made all their kicks. So, right now we're getting bits and pieces of some really good performances, and we just got to put it all together now. Both offensively, defensively, and special teams. So, it'll be a good challenge this week for us with Oregon State coming in. They're a good team. Matter of fact, all these teams that are kind of in our last 4 games here are really, really good teams, and we need to step up to the plate and really do a great job of giving ourselves a chance to be successful and win some of these games down here. So, started today with a good practice, and there's good energy. The guys understand what's in front of them, and we're ready to move forward. So I'd like to open up for questions.
You talked about the offensive line's improvement. When you turned on the tape of that game, was it simple? Did it just come down to they were executing better, or were there things you implemented with Coach Vallejo's taking over there that kind of aided in their improvement?
Probably all the above there, Adam. I think it was their attention to detail and their preparation was better. There was more energy that how they played. I felt they were engaged and really had great communication with getting everybody on the same page. Now, were there still a few mistakes in there? Yeah. But I would say the body of work was probably our best look that we've had so far this season. And I think it is the implementation of, what William and Donovan has been doing, for us, just in our preparation week prior to the game. And I believe it's been a positive, kind of a boost of confidence in a way, the way that they're coaching those guys, the way they're responding to them. And they're having fun. That's one thing. I think they're starting to enjoy the game a lot more, and it was good to see that they were really enjoying just battling and creating some positive plays. Probably in some difficult circumstances. There was 4 fourth down conversions we made, which I think was huge. We still got to work on third down. We still converted some of those third and shorts, but there was a point in the game where we had to go on every opportunity we had it because we were down so many points. And I think our guys were receptive to understanding those conditions, and they made some plays worked to get us some points on the board. So those are all real positive steps for what the offense has done.
Actually, I asked Alex about that after the game, and he said it was kind of confidence building for you guys to go for those fourth downs. You guys have been last in the country on fourth down before this last week, before you go 4 for 4. How confidence building can that be for your team that you showed your offense, hey, I believe in you guys, you can get this done?
It was big, it was big as you can imagine, Brian. This talking about it in our huddles and before the plays have been run. There's a lot of confidence that they can achieve what we're setting our goals to achieve in those situations, and it was fun to see that they were into it. They were into it. They understood it was one of those must-make opportunities, and they made all of them. So it's definitely a big confidence boost for sure. Yes, ma'am.
This was a real important game, and so far as confidence, as we said. What do you want to see specifically going forward from your offense?
Building off of this performance that they had this last week, Oregon's one of the top teams in our conference right now. It's not an easy place to play, and we didn't play well early, but we battled and tried to make impose our will, so to speak, in certain situations and getting some points on the board. And I think we were able to succeed with those moments. And I believe this team has so much more to give, so much more that they can improve. And they're chomping at the bit right now, really. I think this game gave them a shot of confidence about what they could do, because after watching the tape and, like in anything, whether you win or lose, there's always things you did good or not so good. But most of it was good this week, and they feel very confident that they can shore up some things to be even better. So I feel it's a big confidence boost for them.
But specifically in the offense, you want to run, you want to throw. What do you want to see specifically happening now that you've got this positive going on? What do you want to do?
Continuity. Just the execution of making sure you're having some successful run game and being able to balance that with throwing the football. And we have some of the playmakers are starting to make those plays, in the passing game. So their confidence is high and they want the ball. And I believe our running backs feel the same way. They've been more of a factor in the passing game, this last game, which was really good, which helps their confidence with the other facets of what they do. So it is trying to create the balance that we've always tried to strive for offensively, and we need to continue to build on those benchmarks we did last week, and hopefully do them better this week.
Karl, you mentioned you've got some angry guys on defense that want to be better. Who do you feel like needs to step up leadership-wise? I mean, without Nate, obviously you're missing a big-time player, but also a big-time leader. Is that part of it? Is be angry, but also you need some guys to lead that group if Nate's not going to be.
We definitely need to improve our communication there. Nate's a natural leader. He talks on every play, on every adjustment, even hints to, oh, they're running the ball here. He does a lot of stuff just instinctively. We just need more communication. That doesn't need to be like what Nate communicates, but just making sure they're seeing the adjustments. They're getting clues from the offense about, hey, watch this or watch that. Just more communication just to get everybody on the same page. That's a natural thing that Nate does. It's probably not as natural for everyone else, but there's some capable guys. Carson Wells is a very good guy that he sees things, he sniffs things out. I would say Mustafa is one of those guys too. Quinn Perry, who has played more extensively this year, is starting to grow into doing some of that role too in terms of leadership and having that communication. And then our back end needs to do the same thing too. Mark Perry needs to communicate better with the secondary and the adjustments that they see too. So there's some capable players for sure, and we challenged them all about those guys stepping up, getting everybody on the same page, and they're eager to do that. So. When you had a performance like that, which I believe is not characteristic of our defense, they want to get it right, and I think you're going to see the difference this week.
Oregon State leads the conference in rushing, and BJ Baylor's done a good job for them. What kind of stands out about their rushing attack when you watch them on film?
They're well coached and very disciplined on offense and on defense, but on their offense, they have some imposing challenges because they can run the ball in every personnel group pretty effectively. You know, whether it's 11 personnel or 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, or so a lot of the times they roll out 13 personnel, which is 3 tight ends and a receiver out there. And I would say their best attribute is that they have that balance. They can run the football, and they have certain countermeasures off of those run actions to make a defense, you know, try to defend both the play action game and in the run game. So that's always a really common thread that I think most teams, including ourselves, would love to have, is to be able to have a sustainable run game and then build complements off of that, because that challenges a defense to defend both. And they do a really nice job with that. And our quarterback, Nolan's, he's not the most flashy guy, but he's a very, very productive guy. Very productive, because he can make plays with his legs. He does get to play to a skill outside, and I think he does a nice job of getting them into the right play at times when he's making audibles at the line of scrimmage.
I guess just sticking with your defense, do you see some fire from those guys and wanting to prove to people that they can actually play well without Nate? Because they've probably heard a lot that
was
they can't
talked
play well
about
without.
quite a bit today. It's funny you mentioned that, because yes, they know that one guy doesn't make a defense. You know, and Nate knows that too, and he expresses that with those guys too. But you know, we just need our guys to do their role and increase their communication, you know, within that role. You know, the things that I was talking about with those few players that I mentioned, you know, they just need to step up and make sure everybody's on the same page. You know, when you have someone in the front, like for a defensive lineman like Mustafa, that can help the other lineman with what he sees, or a linebacker like Quinn Perry or Mark Perry on the back end, all those guys need to step up and get everybody on the same page. And if they see something, it's okay to give them an alert. Hey, watch for this, watch for that. You know, those types of things. Those are all good, outstanding clues to make sure everybody's awareness is high so that they can react to what they see.
We didn't see Guy Thomas out there on Saturday. Is he injured?
He
do you have an
is.
update on him?
He is. He's got a lower extremity injury, a sprain, so he's going to even be out this week. You know, Nate's, I would say, if you're talking about injuries, he's, you know, I call it week to week, but it's, you know, I want to make sure he's healthy, and I mentioned that to you guys after the game. I'm not going to put him at risk, even though he would probably try to play with one arm if it was up to him. I'm not going to let him do that. So I just don't want to put guys at risk doing that, and you know, so we're going to treat it week to week, and you know, he's feeling better, but he's not. I don't think he's capable of I would say he's doubtful this week to play. On a brighter note, Levante's back, so he practiced this morning, and you know, he's excited to be back. So that will give us, you know, one more piece on the offensive side. So you know, those. So that's probably what's needed right now, too, is now that the offense is starting to pick up, if we can get a couple more pieces back, you know, from that standpoint, that might give us another extra little boost as well.
You know, obviously Oregon State's coming in with Sam Neuer. I know he's not playing a lot right now, but are you looking forward to seeing Sam and just kind of at least saying hi to him before the game, and just
I am.
because of what he did for you guys last year?
That's exactly right, Brian. Yeah, I'm very appreciative of Sam and what he's done for us in that tough year that we dealt with, you know, with COVID and half a season, and you know, making the change from being where he graduated and came back and was our quarterback and helped us have a successful year. There's no question that, you know, I feel a great deal of gratitude for what he's done and his sacrifice for us. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Sam, just to get a chance to shake his hand, give him a hug, and see how he's doing. But, yeah, I think a lot of our players will probably have the same type of feeling and reaction when they see him.
Karl, this being November, is there any weight at all to mutual opponents when you played USC, they played USC, you know, that kind of thing, where you can see what Oregon State has done against mutual opponents? Does that ever factor in, or is that?
Sure it does. Sure it does. You know, particularly, you know, opponents that we've played. You know, the common ground thing, that what you're mentioning. So yes, that's a big factor in terms of our study and what they've done and things like that. But I think the biggest factor is, more than anything, if there's similarities in what we do versus, you know, with teams that Oregon State has played with that have similar schemes. right? So that's where you gain the most knowledge and ground, is when they're doing something against something that we do ourselves, and know how to do, to obviously use that in your preparation. But that's a big factor. What you got to be careful of is, because this game, when particularly, and if that was in week 1 of the season, and now we're in week 9, and sometimes this is a physical game. You lose players through injuries and stuff, like we've lost players along the way too. A lot of teams are in that mode right now, where there's guys, a piece or two are missing because of injury. So sometimes the effectiveness of what you're studying might not be. It might have been good early on in the year, but they may not be doing as much now, if that makes any sense, particularly if you start missing some of those pieces, along the way. But you're absolutely right, though. If there's some common ground with some other teams in the conference that are playing against some of our opponents, we try to see how effective those teams have played.
So, from who you've played, who is OSU similar to?
We're different than most, because we're not like we've been in the last couple of years. Our defensive line and our defensive front's probably different than most. I would say Oregon State's similar. Their defense is similar to ours in terms of them using some 34 personnel and some, we call underfront type looks. We have some underfronts as well. So, but we play against them this week, so that doesn't really help. But I would say. I would say USC is a good barometer, because that's an odd front team that Oregon State went against, and we play some odd, but we're not all odd. We are also 4 down. So there's bits and pieces we can draw from a lot of teams that they've played so far across the, from their schedule. Sure.
Coach, I know we have one from the Zoom. I think Tyler King, do you have a question for Coach?
Hi, Carl. Just going back to last week's game, how exciting was it for you to see that Brendan Lewis to Brendan Rice connection kind of continue to build for a second straight week, and how much confidence does that give you going forward, given that they're both freshmen?
I'm extremely happy for both of them, because they're discovering new, I would say, steps of their progress, and they're gaining confidence along the way. So both players, being young and are very confident with each other about making plays and getting the ball to them and things like that. There's always that connection when the quarterback has a great feel of one of his receivers, and I think that's starting to be developed right now. But we need that feeling with a lot of our skill that's playing right now. I think there's, Montana's made some dirty plays, in the game this last week, some 4th downs, conversions, and, a lot of these guys are starting to step up in these critical moments, and we need them to continue to do that where Brendan Lewis feels confident he can throw to anybody. That's the goal, is that whoever his progression takes him to, that he has confidence that player is going to make the play. But there's definitely a connection between both Brendans, and obviously the last 2 games have shown a lot of that success, with those guys of, working with each other. But we need the whole group to feel that way, and we need Brendan Lewis to feel confident in anybody that's open, that they're going to make those plays.
I know, Justin, do you have a question for Coach on the Zoom?
Yeah, Carl, this past weekend we saw 2 tailbacks in the backfield. We saw Jarek and Alex out there. I don't think we'd seen that formation before this year. I'm just curious, what do you like about that formation, and what advantages do you think it gives that maybe isn't present when it's only Alex back there or Jarek?
Well, it gives us some run potential, which we were able to do, and also to help with, the passing game and in protections too. So I think the best thing why we use that, Justin, is because it was something we used to do in the past years, and I believe it's always good to have a new wrinkle, each and every week that the defense maybe hasn't prepared for. And that's the same thing I would say what teams do to us. They're going to do a new wrinkle that maybe CU hasn't seen. That's an unscouted look. So that's usually part of the process of why you implement some of those things that you haven't done in a while. you tend to bring it back just because they probably haven't had a lot of reps in their preparation to utilize some of those things. So that's all. I think a lot of people do that though, Justin. You know, if you think about it, that's kind of the nature of game planning is, you know, whether you have a new defensive front or a new coverage or, you know, a new formation or a new personnel group. I think everyone kind of does that just to throw teams off a little bit and make them, you know, create a little bit of stress in the environment of the game.
Okay, anything else from the Zoom? Anything else from the room? All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys and ladies.